wonderful to be here, particularly with our next United States Senator, Elissa Slotkin, who I'm going to talk about. I do want to say, though, for the record, Elissa said I've been in public service 50 years. I started when I was 5. When you say 50, it's like I feel like I should pull out a wheelchair or something. I'm like, oh my goodness. But it has been such an honor, I mean, from the bottom of my heart, to represent all of you. This is such a beautiful community. There's so many strengths. And let me start with where we are in our veterans. So important. I've been honored to work with you on veterans health care and outreach and mental health care. And we just got a report back from the VA that with this current administration, Biden-Harris administration, and the work that we have done together, we are serving more veterans with their health care. More veterans have health care today than have ever. And so much of that is a packet, which we worked so hard, right, to get done. You know, and just a little caveat, we actually would have gotten that done sooner, but the former president, President Trump, didn't support it. He said it would cost too much money. President Biden, Vice President Harris, Congresswoman Slotkin, myself, we had a bipartisan group that we put together. Things don't get done if they're not bipartisan. But it took a Democratic president and vice president to actually make that happen. Our veterans. And I'm just saying, my dad was in World War II. Honestly, I don't know what would have happened to our family without the GI Bill. You know, he came home. We were living up there. He was up in Clare, went to school in the GI Bill, and then was able to go on and have a successful life. We owe that. And my dad used to say, a veteran shouldn't stand at the back of any line. Healthcare, education, jobs. Slotkin believes that to her bones because of who she is. Now let me also say that something else I know that she cares passionately about is our beautiful water out here. Our great lakes. Again, just for purposes of comparison, I'm just saying, just for purposes of comparison, when Donald Trump came in his very first budget, he zeroed out the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, which I authored. Zeroed it out. And we put the money back in. We were able to get But I'm just saying. There's some differences here, right? And values. There's some differences here in priorities. And I know we in our state, I'm so proud to say over and over again, we make things and we grow things. That's what we do. We make things, we grow things. And we lead on that. We can do more. We can do more. We make things and grow things. And our farmers, you know what? If you eat today, you need to thank a farmer. Because nobody has a business than our farmers. You have to get up every day to decide what the weather's going to be and what's going to happen and what's going to happen on international trade and so on. And so we want to say thank you to them as well as we go forward. You know, when I decided that it was time for me to pass the torch, and it was not an easy decision. You know, I love Michigan. It's been, there's so many ways in which I feel just so good as I travel around Michigan, including the Fort Gratiot lighthouse, which I was able to find. So wonderful to see that. But I always felt that if I was going to do this and it was time to do that for my family, time to do that, I think it's important to pass the torch. It's important to have new leadership. I wanted somebody that would love Michigan as much as I do. That is so important. our water, you know, nobody, we're going to keep everybody's hands off our water. So, by the way, I have to tell you just a little side story. When my friend Mark Kelly from Arizona first ran a few years ago, calls me for help, asked for a contribution, I say yes, and then he goes, you know, we're just like, it's so dry here and it's horrible and we don't have any water. Have you guys ever thought of a pipeline up to Michigan? And I went, Mark, stop right now. I'm talking about the track. There's no way you were touching our water. No way. So, but, you know, Elissa gets that, right? You don't have to tell Elissa about agriculture. I mean, she grew up on a farm. And you don't have to tell her about manufacturing and about making things and about healthcare. We were just talking today about healthcare challenges. And we all know the story of her support going through with her mom. I'm having the same thing now. My mom's 98 years old, and we're needing to look for assisted living, and it's a different thing, you know, as you look for that. And I'm so blessed that we've had her all of this time. But when I hear things like Kamala Harris saying she wants Medicare to cover home health care, I have a new we don't tell Elissa this. We don't tell Elissa anything about healthcare and what needs to happen. How this is it's a basic human right. Whether it's a veteran, whether it's a child, whether it's a senior, anybody. That's what it is. And I also know that so many of you know my passion around mental health, and that we should be funding healthcare above the neck, the same as healthcare below the neck. Many times about this, and I am absolutely confident that she's going to carry the torch. Otherwise, I'm coming after her. I know I don't have to do that. But she's going to carry the torch. And we can go on and on, protecting Social Security and Medicare, you know, investing in those things that lift people up in terms of opportunities and jobs and housing and college and schools. I mean, all of it. All of it. And the final thing that I will say is, I don't know about you, but I am so exhausted of hearing that Canada on the other side demean us, right? Demean us. Say we're horrible. Say our country's horrible. Say that we should all hate each other. That, you know, we should be afraid of each other. That it's horrible. I'm exhausted by what's happening. And we don't need 4 years of this, Lord knows, right? We don't need that. But what we do need are people that have integrity and principles and know we have to work together. You know, the things that I've done have been done together with Republicans and Democrats working together. We need leaders that understand that and not only talk about it, but actually do it, because they put people first and not themselves first. We know about Elissa's service. We know what she has done in terms of our national defense and working overseas and working with 2 presidents, one Democrat, one Republican. What she has done as a congresswoman to work across the aisle to get things done. We know this. I know that we need her to be our next U.S. Senator, and I want to pass the torch.
Chair. Can we appreciate what a brave and courageous and honorable thing it is to stand with your successor and hand the torch off and say from the moment that she announced she wasn't running again, she has been nothing but decent and serious and helpful to me, to my team. And I'm telling you, in politics, that doesn't always happen. So I just want to thank her again for all the things she has done for me. Hello, Port Huron in St. Clair County. And it's awesome to be here. And even more awesome that I think we had invites out to this event for all of 3 days, and you all showed up in force, which we love. I just want to say a couple of things. First and foremost, I got a chance right in August, mid-August. The senator and I went on kind of a Thelma and Louise tour around Michigan. I was driving. She was in the passenger seat. We had little GoPro cameras inside. We did not end like Thelma and Louise, obviously. We are here. Going over the place. But we did get some time together in the car. There was only one moment where I scared the heck out of her, and I saw a cop. I'm like, what if we just gun it right now? She's like, no. So we didn't do that. But we did get all this quality time in the car. We were in Detroit, we were in Flint, we were in Lansing, we were all over. We went to South Haven, to a blueberry festival. We were all over the place, right? So what happens when just the two of us are in the car driving around like Thelma and Louise? She just starts telling you stories. And she tells them like they are nothing, right? And I just want to, because we're all here, I think because we know our country has this huge decision to make on who we want to be on Tuesday. Really, the path diverges in the woods, and we're going to make a decision as a nation because we know who these two candidates are. People show you who they are, we know who they are. And so we have this massive choice on Tuesday. And so I think it's important to think about what are we aiming towards, right? We're aiming, of course, to have Kamala Harris be our president. I would very much love your vote. Remember that feeling many of you probably had after 2016, right? Do you remember it? Like, most people remember where they were with, what they were doing, like that moment. I went to sleep that night, I'm like, what is wrong? Why is everyone saying that Donald Trump is going to win this election? And I kind of went to sleep to just pretend it wasn't happening, and I woke up at 4:30 in the morning and looked at my phone, and I wanted to believe it was a nightmare, right? I mean, we didn't want to believe it. So the feeling I want you to aim for is that feeling the next day, if we've done our job, we have Kamala Harris in the White House, we've held the Senate, we've flipped the House. It's connected to the story that the senator nonchalantly told me while we're in the car. And she doesn't know this, but I have researched this story that she not so nonchalantly told me and added some important historical details. So, there is this statue in the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol. It is a giant, honking statue of the suffragettes, the women, Susan B. Anthony and Stanton, who helped us get women 100 years ago get the right to vote, right? And it is this honking piece of marble. It is the only physical, sculpted representation of women in the rotunda. There's some paintings, like Pocahontas is in there somewhere, but it is the only real representation. When it was first given in the 1920s, it was given by a women's organization in honor of women getting the vote in the 1920s, and it went immediately to the basement. Right? Sounds right. And for that time, right? Went immediately to the basement. In the 60s, a small group of women, members of Congress, organized to get it lifted up to the first floor of the Capitol, but like in kind of a backwater, right? Enter Debbie Stabenow. She's a congresswoman. It was the 90s, right? 96, 97. she sees this beautiful statue, this incredible statue, in this kind of dark backwater of a place in the Capitol, and she decides it should have pride of place in the rotunda. So she goes to the House administration in something that would never happen to me today, but it just tells you like how things have changed. She went to them and said, we should move that to the rotunda. You know, there's no women there, and they said, if you ladies want it moved, you're going to have to fundraise to get the right equipment. It's very heavy, you ladies. So what did the ladies do? They organized and equipment is needed to bring this giant statue into the rotunda. So now every tourist, every tour, every visitor who comes to the rotunda, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen, particularly women, but lots of people taking pictures in front of this statue, right? So, but the funny thing about this statue, and we've researched it, is, you know, it has the suffragettes list, you know, lined up kind of like a prom picture, one behind the other. But behind them is this giant blob of marble. Basically unfinished. It was a big blob of marble with nothing on it. And we've checked with the archivists, and while there's still a little bit of debate about this, the story goes that the original women who gave this statue, said that we're saving that unfinished piece for the first female president. But imagine that we're going to have to find some little old Italian person and fly him over to the United States and get him to carve the picture of the first female president into that statue. Probably the same guy in House administration who told her that the ladies would have to fundraise is going to be the guy having to get the Italian sculptor over to carve the picture in. And that'll do justice. Okay, so she was telling these stories like they were nothing. And I just want to say that as a woman running, not to be the first federally elected woman from the state of Michigan, because that lady's sitting right here. Stories. She had to do things and put up with things that I never had to do or put up with, right? Right? Having to convince a bunch of guys that her good idea was their good idea so that they would actually champion it and do it for the people they all represented. I never had to do that. So I stand here on her shoulders, able to do what I'm able to do because of what she was able to do for all of us. And I am working very hard to fill them. I've got some big ass feet too. But I'm trying desperately to fill them. And what I will say today is for our military guys, we call it 4 days and a wake up, right? We got 4 days and a wake up until this election happens. It is, while you all are probably political nerds and very engaged and you listen to all the news and you're fretting and you're worrying and you're thinking about all these things, you're going to go sign up for a shift with the one campaign just as mental health. A lot of Michiganders don't really make up their choices on their vote until the last week. Sometimes until the last 36 hours. Okay? So that shift of knocking on their door, calling them, texting them really does matter, especially down ballot, right? Because they may have strong opinions about Harris and Trump, but they may not, they've been trying to avoid it, right? They could be like my dad. My dad called me last week and he's like, that's it. I cannot watch normal television. I'm watching only the Food Network until the end of the election because there's too many attack ads against you, and I'm going to take a shotgun and shoot the television. So I will just say, I am running, and I just want to be, because I haven't been able to be with this many folks from St. Clair County. I'm running for 4 very specific reasons. I'm going to do them very quickly, but I want you to know that I have affirmative, positive reasons why I'm running. Not just because it's there, not just because it's a ladder that you're trying to climb, right? I come from the national security world. If Trump had not won, I don't think I would have been here, because suddenly, instead of the biggest threat to the country being outside, some external threat, it was the division between Americans that was threatening who we were. And that's why I'm here. So, number one, my sun and my moon, I think it's existential that Michigan and the United States be a place where anyone from anywhere can get into the middle class. We invented the middle class, right, where you could work at an auto plant and afford the car you were building. We invented that. So jobs with dignity, and then bringing down the obscene costs of healthcare, prescription drugs, housing, childcare, and post-secondary education. Number two, I want to make more things in America, right? I accept we're not going to make everything again in America. We're not going to make ladies' razors and Rubik's Cubes in the United States of America ever again. That's fine. But certain critical items that are just vital for our economic and national security, we should make in part here. So those chips, right? Those little chips you all have in your pocket, every single one of you. Pharmaceuticals, right? We make a very small amount of our pharmaceuticals. And I will be honest, I am very proud to say that I want to make the next generation of vehicles in the United States. Right? If you drive a truck, a hybrid, an EV, I don't care what you drive, but I want to make that next generation. And I will fight to bring those jobs here and not leave them behind to eat our lunch in this world. It also means growing our food here, making sure we can always feed ourselves by ourselves. So just making sure we think about that with a national security approach. Number three, I want to protect our kids from the things that are truly harming them. And I say truly because I mean truly. The number one killer of children under 21 in America is gun violence. In our communities, in our schools, I'm sure I'm like a lot of you. I grew up with guns, right? I have nothing but positive memories of my dad teaching me to shoot ski, target practice with my brothers. We know it's hunting season now. It's a little too boring for me, but happy to have anyone do whatever they want on that. I also carried a Glock and an M4 on 3 tours in Iraq, and I thank God every day I had those weapons in a war zone. But this idea that either you're a gun owner or you care about children's safety in schools, that it's a choice, is BS. Yeah. It is complete BS. 99% of gun owners would never want their gun used for anything other than sport, right? And I became the first congresswoman in America to represent 2 school shootings. Oxford High School, where we convicted both parents, and Michigan State University, right? And this issue has me by the throat. When I was growing up, number one killer of children in America was car accidents. Because we didn't use car seats so much, didn't wear the seatbelt, small accident, child would get thrown. What does a normal society do to go after the number one killer of children? You pass state law and federal law and regulation. Did anyone drive here today without a seatbelt? If your child said, I'm going to bring my infant home from the hospital, but just leave her in my lap in the front seat, you would crawl over glass to make sure she didn't do that, right? So to me, this is, and at the time there were protests against seatbelts, right? You were breaking the Christian bond between mother and child by taking the child off the lap. Those were the protests, right? You were infringing on someone's freedom. And now we look back on that and we laugh and we think that's crazy. And 20 years from now, they're going to look back on this time when we let our children get killed in school. They're going to say, what's the problem? Things that are truly harming our kids are the diseases of despair. Mental health issues, opioid addiction, and fentanyl through that. And then the thing that's going to affect our kids way more than us, climate change, right? Those are the real threats to our kids. I am not focused on the not real threats to our kids, like books or teaching Black history in our schools. Those are not threats to our kids. Those are manufactured cultural threats. Last thing, it's a style thing more probably the youngest Democratic woman in the Senate. And for me, you know, I came of age politically after Trump, right? This wasn't my career. I was in national security my whole life, which is very nonpartisan. I mean, you work alongside someone for 15 years, you have no idea how they vote. And it doesn't matter, right? If I'm in a dangerous community in Iraq and I'm going out in a convoy, what do I care how you vote? I care, are you rested? Are you ready? Is your weapon clean? I came of age in an era when instead of gaining more rights and strengthening our democracy, we've lost rights and we've weakened our democracy. So we need to play more offense and less defense on protecting rights in our democracy. We can't just wait for things to happen. Right? So things like choice and a woman's right to choose, where we did our job here in Michigan. You know, we passed our law in 2022. There was a 50-year plan to get rid of a woman's right to choose. Can't we have a 5 or 10-year plan to get it back? Can't we declare that? Can't we go on offense and have our Supreme Court cases and our legislation and do our 50-state plan? So I want to be part of that generation that just says, you know what, we're going to play more offense. We're not just going to wait, and I feel very strongly that that's what people expect of that new leader going into Washington. So, thank you. It's fitting that we are here where we are, and that I leave you with something that I feel like I've learned over and over and over from Senator Stabenow. Wear your patriotism on your sleeve. You are here in the middle of the day because you love your country and you want it to be better. You want it to be better. Don't give 1 inch to these people who wrap themselves in the flag and then spit on the values that it represents.